It's movie night. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are at that wonderful time of the week again. It's Friday and the top pick. Grab the beers, get the wine out, because this week, the movie of the week, Scream. This is one hell of a movie. And it's just such a charming, sweet, lovable, just cool horror movie. In fact, I don't even know if you call this a horror movie. It's just so good. I I struggle to find the word for this. You probably put this in the horror bracket, and Scream hits you with definitely one of the most unforgettable opening sequences in horror history. There's no doubt about it. Okay, Drew Barrymore. We're not going to, by the way, today's one of those days now, right, where we're not going to be explaining a scene and then showing you the clips, just in case we kind of give something away, all right? But to be honest, this movie's so good that you'll have no idea who the bad guy is or girl at the end of this. You'll have no idea. I honestly don't think you will. However, we're going to play it safe today, all right? So anyway, it's, she's alone in her kitchen. Drew Barrymore, the phone rings and suddenly horror genre just changed forever. And it was, there's no mass, like, well, there is, but there's no monsters, there's no supernatural entities, It's based off just raw human bitterness, anger, psychoticness, a voice that just creeps you out, man. I mean, that simple phone call that flips from playful to terrifying in seconds. That's how Wes Craven dragged us kicking and screaming into the 90s horror revival. And here's the kicker. It ain't just a slasher. This film is part horror, kind of comedy, satire. It's a movie that knows it's a movie and scare the life out of you, lad. Let's get into it.
Peter.
Now here comes like part of the comedy of the movie too. Like the tension of the heart of Scream is this. How do you survive in a world where horror movies are real, but nobody takes them seriously? And the characters are teenagers who've seen Halloween. They've seen Friday the 13th. They've seen Nightmare on Elm Street. And yet they know the rules. Don't say, I'll be right back. You'll see what I mean when you see the movie. Don't drink, don't have sex, don't split up, but they still get pulled into the spiral. For all the audience, like the conflict, it's doubled. On one hand, you're laughing at just the absurdity of the whole thing. At Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy, sorry. And, breaking down the rules of horror in the middle of a party. Honestly, that's one of my greatest, it's one of my best, my favorite scenes of all time. I don't know what it is. It's, you have a guy here explaining how horror movies break down in a horror movie. Okay? I mean, again, like I'm saying, lads, I really don't think, if you can actually guess who the murderer is, wow, you are awesome, honestly. And you're conflicted. Like on one hand, your heart's racing, then you're laughing, then Ghostface, that's the killer, the masked killer, so could come tearing around the corner, and then the comedy like disarms you, and the horror, it slams you in twice as hard. It's the genius of Scream. Like, to understand Scream, lads, I tell you now, lads, like you got to look at the state of horrors in the mid 90s. It was the slasher genre it was kind of gone. It was burnt out, and sequels after sequels, they milked the likes of Freddy, and they were great back in the day, and Jason and Party, and Wes Craven himself already poked fun at it with New Nightmare. And then came was it Kevin Williamson with the idea, what if we made a horror movie where the characters know the cliches and the cliches still kill them anyway? And that's how we got a movie where a high school scenes were supposed to be filmed at Santa Rosa High School, California, until the school board read the violent script and pull the plug. And they thought they were getting a lighthearted comedy, not a blood-drenched satire. And Wes Craven's revenge in the credits, he added a special thanks section and literally said, "No thanks to whatever to the Santa Rosa City School something. Pure kind of sort of Hollywood pettiness and pure brilliance." And then, and how about like Courteney Cox, just straight up coming off the set of Friends and practically begging for the role of Gail Weathers, and she wanted to shatter her nice girl sitcom image by playing a sharp, aggressive, slightly, well, not slightly, total bitch. Like, she's a total bitch in this movie. Producers didn't think she could pull it off, but then she did push and push until she got the part. And thank God she did, because she was great in this. Genius of Scream, like, it's in its layering. You've got the teens partying, the curfews, the creepy, scary phone calls, and that voice, man. The masked figure lurking around the place. And it's also in the craft. You've to take the legendary party scene. Like, I think it was over 40 minutes long. 40 minutes long in a party scene. Filmed over the course of, they said, over 3 weeks. I think it was just up to 3 weeks or just over, but around that, right? From sunset to sunrise. It took a long time to film this, lads. And that's why the crew jokingly called it the longest night in horror history. That's what they were actually saying. And, at the end of filming, they made t-shirts that read, "I survived scene 118. That's how insane it was. And then, Drew Barrymore, right? Everyone in, 95, 96 thought she was the big thing. She was the star, man. And she was front and center. But Wes Craven flipped the script. Literally. Now, I think you can pretty much guess where I'm going with this part, right, for the opening scene. But it does not give away the movie. Okay? And, the shockwave was huge. Everybody realized no one is safe. When you take out the main star, the big Hollywood star at the time, she's gone. Like, guys, that was the genius. It upped the ante for us, That was so good, lads, And then there's the genius, the references to Halloween around, Go to the Mackenzies. The same line. Is it Laurie Strode? God, I'm always forgetting when I go live or go on air. Laurie Strode in Halloween, and that's not a wink. That's a handshake, lads, between gesture of horror fans. By the time you get to the third act of this movie, Scream has you completely and utterly baffled at this stage. Unless you're a goddamn genius and I'm just a moron. And if you get it at this stage, well, hats off. You're a genius. You're laughing at Jamie Kennedy's ranting about all the rules. We've talked about this. But, this is in the third act. And the tension isn't just who's going to die. It's in who you can trust or can't trust. And behind the scenes, the cast was feeling the pressure too, apparently. They were saying Matthew Lillard, who plays one of the standout characters, wasn't even supposed to audition, right? He was at the building supporting his girlfriend's audition, believe it or not, for another role, when casting director Lisa Beach saw him, dragged him in, and ended up nailing the part in what they call the most incredible ferocity. Talk about fate or blind luck. I mean, my God, man. Roger Jackson, the chilling voice on the phone. And neither Drew Barrymore nor Neve Campbell ever met before filming. Now, by the way, Roger Jackson, he wasn't the guy that is the murderer. He's just the voice, okay? I'm not giving away anything. And, you don't need, like, it's a revitalized horror. That's what it is, lads, okay? I don't know where I'm going with this. Every man, every woman just needs to watch Scream. I honestly think it set the new benchmark for horror movies. Slasher horror movies. And there's it's something that you don't go sit there and you're going to freak out every night. Oh my God. Well, maybe it will. I could be wrong. But there's a real sort of style to this movie where it was accepted back in the day. And it's still an all-time classic because it just doesn't go away. It's built on humanity, the trust, the betrayal of people. And and you can just feel Wes Craven. He's just he's just messing around with this man. You can actually feel that as you're watching the movie. And by the way, we'll do another conclusion of this for about Scream 2 and 3. Like this huge collection of these movies, and they're all really good. But this is the original, baby. And I honestly think, to me, it's the greatest horror slasher movie of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, get the beers out, get the popcorn, get the wine. It's Scream time, baby.
Peter.
Wow.